taking out the trash, right? Taking out the trash midday. And I've got my phone in my pocket just blaring. I'm blaring Brian Ferry's Slave to Love, which is like total, like, middle-aged music. And
yeah, totally.
Hold on. If there ever was music to take the trash out to, it's Brian Ferry's Slave to Love. Salutations and welcome to An Outcome of the Opinions, the music and talk show podcast where the question comes to play, which came first, the artist or the critic? So as always, we have the three pillars of audio greediness. First off, he is the brains of the outfit. He's all lost in the supermarket. He can't shop happily. It's Alan.
That's a song.
And next
that,
up,
as a Clash fan, I go through stages with it. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I hate it, but I appreciate the intro.
I agree. Next up, the producer extraordinaire. All he wants is you sucking in his store. It's John Meadows.
Hey, everybody. Welcome.
And finally, the court jester and main offender. He's eating that booty like it's groceries. It's Brad. Also known as B-Money, also known with other aliases that we can't say here, otherwise I would probably get arrested. Guys, how we feeling today?
I'm frazzled.
John is frazzled.
I know you are.
Yes.
And desperate to talk about music.
Yes.
Desperate.
Keep your frazzle over there.
Well, have I got something for you? So, the main topic that we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about music consumption. The biggest thing that we as music obsessives do is we need to find new music. We need to listen to new music. So how do we listen? But before we get to that, I've got a interesting opening topic, and I think it happened maybe about a couple of weeks ago. So, and I'm sure probably if you're listening to this podcast, it might be a little bit down the road, but we got to talk about Geese on SNL. So I watched both of them, and they did two songs off of Getting Killed. They did Opes do Cocaine, which is kind of a little bit of a slower song. It's still kind of that same thing. And then they also did Trinidad, which is the opening track on Getting Killed. My opinion, I think they should have went with Taxes, but that's besides the point. I'm not Lorne Michaels, and I'm not making those decisions. But everything that was said about Geese was that, it was horrible. Oh, it's just terrible. They don't sound right. It's just messy and blah, 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 blah. For me, now bear in mind, I understand that the general public thinks that this is, dissonance. It's all that. But hear me out. It was actually really good. It was a great performance. And the problem is a lot of the performances that you're seeing lately on Saturday Night Live kind of pander to the masses. You're going to get your Billie Eilishes. You're going to get your McGee's. You're going to get your Bad Bunny, your A$AP Rocky. Whoever's got a new album out, they're going to throw it out there. So I kind of want to throw it to y'all. I mean, I'm a big Geese fan, and I'm also a fan of weird, crazy, bizarre music. So, help me out, folks. Talk to me about this.
All right. I'm going to come at it from a different angle because I'm not really a Geese fan. But at the same time, seeing the way it all unfolded with all of this is the worst performance of all time. Like, it was a good performance. Like, Geese isn't really my thing, but at the same time, like, I could see if you're a Geese fan, you'd like it. It probably wouldn't have even been that noticeable, but just everybody jumped on it. And I kind of came with, it's kind of like I don't want to get into this topic right now, but it's kind of like the Super Bowl halftime show. Everybody complains. Every year they complain. And I kind of feel like Geese were kind of set up where no matter what, people were going to just crap on it. And I thought it was fine. It's not my thing, but it reminds me of kind of those 90s, like Smashing Pumpkins came on, Hole came on, Nirvana came on. They all did SNL. Half the people, the older generation was like, oh, what's this crap? What are they doing? Younger generation dug it. Kind of had those vibes to me.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. John, you got some thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm coming at it from a couple of different angles. I put it in the same camp as the people who were complaining about.
Reminds me of the people complaining about Green Day, actually.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was complaining about Knock Loose when Knock Loose being on Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And was Poppy on that as well? I'm trying to remember. Like people had tuned in. And
we actually talked about this last week. Remember the joy that I had of her skipping across the stage, getting ready to shriek out. So allow me this tangent, because this is something that I think about a lot. Like the when people complain about performances and things like that. There's a whole bunch of years ago, and I don't know, like the performance seemed fine to me. I don't know if they were having any like technical difficulties or anything like that. And whenever I watch somebody on stage, or even like a performance, and especially like TV performance, are really, really, really hard. Like I come from, so a whole bunch of years ago, like Mariah Carey was on like a New Year's Eve thing, and her performance was something had gone wrong, and she put on a horrible performance. And what had happened was, like, knowing people, because it's Mariah Carey, people were bagging on her, people making fun of her, things like that. I watched this performance with like pure horror. So what had happened was, if you're a performer, she's got monitors in, okay? When music's playing, it goes to the TV. You can hear it at home, but the only way she can hear it is in the monitors in her ear. And she starts off, she looks up at the sound booth and like shakes her head. And my heart goes into my stomach and I start getting nauseous. And I was like, she's not getting anything in her fucking ears. So she's not getting any cues. This music's going. She doesn't know when to start singing, all that type of shit. And so that's when I was watching the Geese stuff, that was the first thing I was looking for. I was like, is there anything technical going on? But then everything else, but past that, everything else, it just comes down to, like, it was fine to me. Like they said, no, this was the worst thing. It wasn't that. No, it was fine. So, and also I do respect bands that, like sometimes their live stuff is just different from their recorded stuff. Stuff rolls out on stage just different. Like, there's Band Maid. I'm going to apologize, ahead of time. That I'm going to talk about Band Maid ad nauseum for the next 5 years. But Band Maid is definitely one of those bands where everybody in the comments of people discovering Band Maid, they're like, "Oh, you like this video? You need to watch them live." And everybody, and I'm not sure if I agree with it, but they put on amazing live performances where they add things. Solos are different. They do this. They do different intros and things like that. And so when you sound different from your album, people lose their shit. They really, really do. They really, really do. And so, no, it was a fine performance for me. So, So what I did was, as the resident researcher, I actually went back and went through 50 plus years of SNL artists. So let me give you a short list of the first 7 years of how crazy some of these bands were. Gil Scott-Heron.
Nice.
I mean, first of all, a spoken word performance on national TV is something else. Tom Waits. I mean, we're all big Tom Waits fans here. And he is not built for live TV. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And I don't remember Tom Waits, but I remember seeing Ricky Lee Jones sing Chucky's in Love. And I remember Randy Newman. And yeah, anything like that, anything in that category that was on those early years is just like nothing else you've seen.
Is Fear on your list?
But it's number 7 on my list. So Frank Zappa. I mean, because anytime Frank Zappa's involved, he's going to be weird. let's get into something I love. Sun Ra was on SNL. So
really, that's interesting.
Yeah, and check that out. It's a crazy performance because he's got so many people on stage, and it is insane. Kid Creole and his Coconuts.
Oh, yeah.
Once again, another crazy thing that's on there. And then the one that probably got banned but shouldn't have was Captain Beefheart. And Captain Beefheart was the one that they raked him over the coals as one of the worst performances ever on SNL. But it's Captain Beefheart. It's weird. It's all over the place. And of course, Fear, which Fear, here's the thing. The Fear performance was really good, and they didn't want to get off the stage, but there's talk that they were banned from SNL. They actually weren't banned. It was just, they're like,
right.
Okay, you did your thing.
They just had to turn off the mic.
Yeah. And the story is John Belushi was a big fan and got him on.
Yep.
I mean, that's the legend, at least.
So those SNL, but you're bringing up that SNL stuff. Those early years of SNL, it was the wild, wild west.
Oh yeah,
and even nowadays, when you get a whole bunch of actors together, everything gets weird. I'm positive all that stuff was like, you love Sun Ra, get him on here. You love Beefheart, get him on here. And they were just. And and like a spoken word performance, that's fantastic. So
and I don't know if I know we're obviously all the same age, and I was at the age where not necessarily being able to stay up late to watch Saturday Night Live until I was probably a teenager. So I obviously missed the early years, but in my teen years they played SNL, the reruns on, I think probably like Nickelodeon or the Comedy Channel. One of them played him. And like I would see the musical performances there, and like they would blow my mind. So even though I was seeing them probably 5-10 years after they happened, like seeing Devo like play Satisfaction blew my mind. Seeing David Bowie's another famous one with Klaus Nomi in the background doing Boys Keep Swinging and TV C15. Like those just blew my mind. And some of the other artists you mentioned. And I also think so somebody watching it now, like what's a 13-year-old now watching Geese? Like that's probably doing the same thing to that person.
And that's music discovery, to a T. And I love that. Let me give you a couple other rundowns too. So season 11, you had Queen Ida and the Bon Top Zydeco Band. You had a Zydeco band season 11. Can you imagine them putting a Zydeco band on in season 51? It's unheard of. Joe Jackson was on a couple of times. And that was about the time, I think, on season 11, that might be the Night and Day stepping out.
Yeah, so he had a run on the chart. So that's.
Yeah, but still, Joe Jackson's weird. I love him to death, but he's weird. Let me throw out another name for you from season 11, Philip Glass.
Oh,
So
really?
Interesting. I mean, it's crazy to see some of these bands. So I'm not going to bore everybody with this, but a couple other ones that I had down here, the Sugar Cubes, season 14, Johnny Clegg and Savuka. Season 15, you had the Pogues and Julie Cruz. Around the 25th, 26th season, it starts getting a little bit more mainstream, and you're pandering more to who's got albums out, who's who's the flavor of the month. I mean, let's be honest. At some point in time, Turnstile is going to be on SNL, and I'm okay with that. But what's going to happen? Is it going to get panned? Is people going to say, "Oh, this is terrible"? I'm just like, yeah, I mean, you just don't understand. That's the thing. Right. So, it's, and I think that, and as much as I love SNL and I like that they want to take some chances, they need to take more chances. I find that, like if you ever watch the John Mulaney comedy thing that was on Netflix, the show, the talk show that he had, he brought some musical guests on. He brought in Metz. He brought in Joyce Manor, which we'll talk about a little bit later. He brought in Sleater Kinney. So he's had a fair amount of of bands that are on there that are not necessarily getting mainstream play, but then also Jimmy Kimmel's bringing people out. Jimmy Fallon, other Jimmys are bringing stuff. I don't know who else is. I'm in bed by that time, so I don't.
But it all goes viral. I mean, it's the thing. It all goes viral. It shows up on your Insta or whatever you're looking at, your reels or whatever. Like it goes viral. So that's the thing with the Geese. I mean that went viral, and they're at that spot where they're just getting ready to maybe break through. So it's, I feel like in recent years, it's like the Billie Eilishes and the Chapel Roans and whoever that's their big, SNL is kind of like, okay, you're breaking through the mainstream. Well, I'm thinking about it. As an aside, talking about live performances, sometime, John, you mentioned Mariah Carey, but I know Liz Phair has a nice little, I think if you just would Google Liz Phair, like, I think it's the Rockefeller Center. It's like a Christmas, probably just Google like Liz Phair Christmas. She has a whole thing of like, she had a live performance. She had technical difficulties and hadn't rehearsed, and it did not go well.
It sucks. When you get on stage and stuff starts going wrong, it's the worst. It really is.
My question is, did Liz Phair do fucking Run for the Christmas special?
Oh my God. I was going to make that joke.
I beat you to it. I beat you to it. That's what it was.
Remember that brief part of time where like everything alternative in the 90s had kind of went away and wasn't quite as cool. And Liz Phair for just the tiniest of a second was like going to be like a pop princess. Like just that, there's like 5 minutes there sometime, like in the 2000s, where that's where otherwise that doesn't.
How'd that work out for her?
Yeah, that's funny.
All right, well, I think this is a good discussion on SNL. I'm still gonna watch, and I still want SNL to bring other artists in that are that are a little bit weird, a little bit crazy, and I think this is great for the youth to go. So let's take a quick break, and then we will talk about our main topic. All right, so let's talk about our main topic. So this one is kind of near and dear to my heart because it's kind of where we discover all of our music, is our music consumption. So with all of us, we all work different jobs, and there's not a lot of hours in the day for all of us to have. We've all got families, we've all got kids. So for us, it's trying to find where we listen to music and how we listen to music. So the first thing, I want to kind of throw it out to y'all, just as an estimate, like how much music do you think you listen to like in a week's time? I'll start with John on this one.
That's a really good question.
I know, that's why I asked it.
It's got to be at least like 3 hours a day, like minimum. And that's because that's just like music in the background. I do a lot of driving sometimes, so that music in the car. And that's gonna when we come back to me, because I think about this a lot. Like when you're talking about like music consumption and like how we listen to music. Everything for me, unfortunately, everything's on the goddamn phone. I rely on, and I'm also one of those jerks where just like I boycott Spotify. I was like, they don't pay their people, fuck them. But then like out of the other side of my mouth, but I give so much money to Apple fucking Music, and I don't even know. Like I'm under the assumption that they pay them $1 more. That's my thing, and that's just and so when it comes to that, you like how we listen to music and things like that. Like I don't have a music room, and I desperately want one. And as far as like owning music, I don't like. I stopped like buying stuff like a long time ago, and it's not. But that's also that's it. Like albums are coming back, so I'm getting stuff from Margie and stuff like that. For Margie is my significant other, for all those people out there. Because she's still buying physical media and stuff like that. But and it's not that I don't want to own music. I desperately want to own music, but that, trying even to find like a sound system nowadays is damn near fucking impossible. Unless you're going high end, I can spend 15 grand on a Bang & Olufsen if I want to, but I just don't have that type of cash and stuff like that. And it's something I've been thinking about recently because, we got a crappy like record player, and I want to get like a nice little setup for Margie, because Margie has the record collection I don't, and she's got she's got a lot of great old records that go through, like and what is even like hilarious, like I pulled out recently the Dead Kennedys, Give Me Convenience or Give Me Death, and it's fucking. I don't think she had ever listened to it. I think she had just bought it and put it in her collection. It was pristine, had everything in there and things like that. And it was a like a weird deja vu, because when I first really discovered the Dead Kennedys, it was kind of in a similar way where I had found it. My buddy had come back from college, and there were a couple of cassette tapes. And then I went over to this girl's house, and there was a big group of us. And according to her, she was the girl that got her head shaved during the Stigmata thing. And she
really,
yeah, and she took, like, we didn't date or anything, but she took a liking to me because I showed so much interest, like I said this either last week or the week before, like, I was like, I just discovered ministry and stuff. And so she handed me like a pristine, Give Me a Convenience or Give Me Death. And when I opened that up and pulled out the inserts and stuff, my brain was melting. I was like, holy, what I was just listening to the cassette tape. This is what comes in the album? And looking at stuff. And so, and I don't, that's the, unfortunately, the trade-off is, depending what kind of access you can get through the streaming services, like, you have access to everything. That's the upside. The downside is you're never going to own anything ever fucking again. And that's a conspiracy theory rabbit hole we get into another time. So, and then you get into the rabbit hole of how are you listening to music? Like are you getting the quality? That type of stuff. And I know, 50% of the people care about that. The other 50% don't give a fuck. So, so that's how I'm getting my music through the streaming services, basically.
I feel like you touched on a lot of topics that we need to get into.
I did. I was going to say, I didn't mean to splatter against the wall there.
I would say for me, probably 3 hours for me as well. I probably drive my wife crazy because, like, every, especially if she's not here, like, every moment I have music on. And so I work from home. That's helpful. So I can do some listening from home, right? Set up. But I'm also like John, where, like, if I'm away from like a laptop, if I'm away from a record player, like, I'm playing stuff on my phone. And to the point of, like, the other day, this has been a while back, but I was taking out the trash midday, and I've got my phone in my pocket just blaring. I'm blaring Brian Ferry's "Slave to Love," which is like total, like, middle-aged music. And
totally. Hold on. If there ever was music to take the trash out to, it's Brian Ferry's "Slave to Love."
And continue. And there's a jogger walking by, and I'm like, like, what do? You make that contact, and you're like, I guess I'm gonna pause it real quick. I don't know. And maybe it's just that it's one thing. When I was in my 20s, it was really cool to listen to Roxy music. Now that I'm 50 something, it's like, I kind of dig the Brian Ferry, but I don't know. I want people need to know that, but that's what I'm doing.
Okay. So I think, because, Alan, you work from home. John, you're kind of man about town. So I'll just throw it out here because I'm the oddball of the bunch, as always. I'm a chemical engineer. So, like, I commute to whatever, to the refinery that I work at. So it's a 45-minute commute. I'm either listening to music or I'm listening to a music podcast on the way there. So it's either like listening to NPR or listening to an album. And a lot of times it's finding some new music to listen to. In between going to different units and all that, I've got music on in the car. When I'm sitting in my office, I've got another guy I share the office with. So I'm listening to music. I'm not really listening to music there. The only time I really listen to music is if I have to do some like engineering reports or, heat duties or whatever that I have to do. So, I would say probably I average around 4 to 4.5 hours a day of music, which can somewhat be unheard of. When I get home, we watch TV and all that. But on the weekends, we've been doing more of just shutting the TV off. And I actually have a listening room. So where I'm sitting right now, where you see this that beautiful collection of bourbon there, there's also underneath this, and I will show you. Oh, look at this. Okay. John, you're going to hate me for this.
What you got going on?
So if you can't see this.
You got it. You got it. Oh. Oh. Oh.
It is a 5 LP set of The Shape of Punk to Come by Refused. I had to get this.
It's got a lot of like B-sides and live and stuff like that with it, right? It's got
it's a full live album. There's another album that is in here that's nothing but covers. It has got all the bonus material and all that. And the thing that I love with this, and you touched on it, you can listen to Spotify and you can listen to Apple Music and everything. You don't get this.
Yeah.
You don't get all the information. You don't get all of the media. You don't get this. You don't get to touch it. And the other thing that you don't get to see is you don't get to see this.
Oh, God damn. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So for me, this started maybe because I used to have a killer CD collection. Then I got poor and I had to sell killer CD collection. So then after that, you have to figure out, you have to kind of go to the thing of how am I going to, am I just going to listen to, digital music all the time? So I got to a point in time where I was downloading a lot of music legally. But then after a while, when Spotify and all this other, and I am a subscriber to Spotify, I will be, I'll hang my hat on that. I don't like it. I don't like some of the support, but you know what?
No, I get it. No, I get it.
If I can get everything that I need to listen to in a single app,
it's hard to beat that.
It is really hard to beat it.
Although, like you said, sometimes it is the physical. Obviously Neil Young was a big one who took his stuff off Spotify for a while. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard have done that. So, there is some of that where it's like, you want to listen to an album and it's not there. So, and they come and go, like Dwight Yoakam, Guitars, Cadillacs, etc., which is a great album that probably neither one of you like that much. is one is now on there, but it's kind of came and went. So
I just want to do one more. So Crack the Sky
Mastodon?
by Mastodon.
Wow.
So this is the reason why I do this, because of all the extra stuff that you can get, of just the tactile. It's just everything that's there. And I spent, so for my birthday a couple of years ago, the wifey, God love her, said, let's get something that we could all listen to. So we went out and got a very modest, Fluence turntable, speakers, and all that other stuff to it. And it sounds fantastic. And it's fairly reasonable. You don't have to spend $15,000 on all this. So it's something like that you can listen to this at home. And it got me. What hooked me was I was over at a buddy's house a few years ago, and we sat in his little alcove, and he had a bunch of albums, and he played Smashing Pumpkins Siamese Dream on his hi-fi that he had. And the sound it was just rich, and there's something about it that was just a little bit. Yeah, it is.
That is a thing.
And I will say this, people say, well, no, you can't tell the difference.
Oh, you can. You
can tell the difference more in the feel than here. It's more here than it is here.
Yeah. No, it's definitely richer. The number one thing I hate about like the streaming thing is that even the way just and this is an Apple thing, the way iTunes changed to specifically like a music. So with iTunes, you bought it, and however transient digital is, you owned that physically. It was downloaded someplace. Here, even if you download it, if you miss that payment, you can't fucking access those things. And that I don't.
Yeah, I mean that's a good thing about something like
forever.
Bandcamp. I mean, will go to Bandcamp because of that. Like at least I have possession of the files. Where Spotify is, it's something might be there 1 week and 1 week it's gone.
So,
and really the whole deal, because the bands that we mentioned that aren't on Spotify anymore, King Gizzard with their 50,000 albums that they have out there. Who else did we say is not on there? I know Juju's taken theirs off. And one of my favorites, Godspeed You Black Emperor, has taken all of their music off of Spotify as well. Luckily, I have it all on vinyl. So
so when they take their stuff off, and and I haven't looked into this, when they take their stuff off, where do they put it?
Usually they put it on Bandcamp.
Yeah.
And they go there.
Really. I haven't. Of course I know Bandcamp, but I haven't done the deep dive of Bandcamp. Are mainstream people on there?
Oh yeah.
Well, I was saying
everybody's
mainstream,
on Bandcamp.
but everybody's on Bandcamp.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I think I'm going to start spending some money on Bandcamp then, because if I have to live in a fucking digital world, I'm not complaining. I love the digital world.
I mean,
but
that's what works for me, just because I'm at the spot of like physical limitations. Like I don't need 1 billion. I don't have room for 1 billion albums. So, I do have a room for 1 billion files. No, I won't tell Brad's wife or anything, but
I look at it. So I had brought this up before. I have my friend, his name's Jim Curie, and he lives here in Chicago, and he runs an online magazine called Be in the Loop. And he's got like a music room like set up at his house, and it is like a library. Like easily, they're all CDs, but easily it's like 3,000 of them, and he has them. He has it set up on his wall, and he has them like labeled like A, B, C, D, E. And going over to his house, I just he'll have a party, and I just spend like an hour like going through his thing, because he is one of those guys where like when you ask somebody, what do you like, he says everything. He's like the personification of that, and maybe he's coming at it from like a music journalist, thing like that.
And you can also think like the other thing to think of though is like technology has changed. Like you guys have known me forever. I'm the cheapest guy around. I drove a 90s Toyota until the wheels fell off. And when I had that great CDs. Cars today don't even have CD players. It's all going to hook up to your phone. So it's that's one thing too, is like, well, I never thought I would stream as much as I do, but what are the other options? I mean, if I'm driving, I'm streaming. So that's another option.
Yeah, me too.
Yep. And what I find is that, when you're streaming, you have the world at your fingertips. So, if you're just like, man, I would love to listen to like Can's early albums. Boom.
Oh, yeah.
You just pull it up and there it is. So like you can say, all right, I just want the Can from Damo Suzuki. You can listen to Tago Mago. You can listen to Soon Over Babaluma. You can listen to, all of those albums that are there. If you're like, no, I'm done with this. Why don't I listen to the latest Megadeth album? God forbid why, I don't know. But you can, maybe you support Dave Mustaine in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you're a ginger like he is.
Do.
I mean,
I
mean, I'm a ginger. I don't support him, but that's okay. But if you want to listen to that, it's there. If you want to listen to some weird, like something straight out of like, Virginia, like Little Ugly Mane, who's, my son has turned me on to it, and it's just weird, like trap music. You can listen to that. So it's endless possibilities. And then even with Spotify, you can still listen to like audiobooks and all these other things. And okay, this is not an advertisement for Spotify. It's not meant for that whatsoever. I'm not saying that in the least. But what I'm saying is that even if you're still on like Pandora or Tidal or Apple Music or Amazon Music, you have the world at your fingertips and you can listen to whatever you want. So this now brings up.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Is Pandora still a thing?
Yes, Pandora's still a thing.
Yeah, it's Sirius XM, Pandora, Stitcher, whatever it is that's there. But yeah, it's still out there. I don't think it's something that is a go-to for a lot of people. But
so allow me this tangent, and apologies ahead of time. With Spotify, they do this in Apple Music. I'm just curious. So, because I'm lazy and I've figured out how to speak to phones and stuff like that, when I'm in the car, I can go, "Hey Siri," and sometimes it takes me yelling at 15 different fucking times to get it right. I was like, "Hey Siri, play this song by Band Maid," and then what I want it to do is whatever album that's on, just continue with the album. But instead, they just keep throwing me other Japanese music. You must like J-pop and this, that, and things, and which I don't mind. Does Spotify do that?
So Spotify, that's your paid up feature. So Spotify, you can listen to it. You can listen to, like, if you want to listen to a song, it's going to give you similar songs. You have to pay up to get, like, I'm going to listen to the full album in order, as God intended, right?
That's interesting. As God intended. Thanks.
Side A, side B.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's interesting. Okay.
To tell you a little funny tangent. So, I think we're all familiar with Deftones, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
So if you search for Deftones, White Pony on Spotify, the only version that you get is the version where they actually put Mini Maggot Back to School as the first track. And if you don't know the history about this, if you don't know the history about it, that track was not supposed to be on that album. The record label actually told them, you need something that is similar to like what, Korn and Limp Bizkit and all those other ones are. So you need to put this album on first. The only way that you can listen to the White Pony album as God intended, or Chino, one of the two, is you have to find the 20th anniversary of White Pony. And that one actually leaves off Mini Maggot. And it's the full album.
Interesting.
And if you listen, and not to get on a tangent of Deftones, but like if you listen to that whole album, Mini Maggot does not fit the vibe at all. And if you listen to the full album without it, the vibe is completely different.
That is a thing, again, in Band Maid. But I wonder how many bands out there where they have like digital versions are different from, the releases and stuff. Like on Band Maid's like fourth album, the last track, Honey, is a cover. And if you bought the CD, the way I understand it, if you bought the CD, Honey wasn't on it. But if you listen to it on a streaming service or something like that, Honey was on like the digital.
Yeah, I think the streaming services handle different things different ways on that.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So
Sometimes you see it.
that's interesting to me, and disappointing at the same time. Yeah.
So to throw another wrench into that as well. So De La Soul, whenever they re-released everything, maybe a couple of years ago, so they got out of the contract and they were able to release 3 Feet High and Rising, Stakes is High, Balloon Mind State, pretty much that catalog that was on Tommy Boy Records. When they released 3 Feet High and Rising, if you remember, there are so many samples on that album that they couldn't get clearance of every single sample. So there's part of it that when you listen to it on Spotify, that it's kind of like a dead spot in there because they couldn't clear the sample. So,
that is a Wild West type thing.
Oh yeah,
That
100%.
Wow, I didn't. Wow. And the reason I'm saying wow is because I'm thinking about like many different, say like TV series and things like that. Like you watch it on TV, you want to watch it again because you're like, man, they put the song in there, or they had the songwriter, they had this composer, and then it's completely different because they couldn't get the rights to it.
It's the same thing with WKRP in Cincinnati. Like they would always have they would always have the records playing, and now if you watch any of it, they've got to take all that stuff out because it's, you don't need to cut a check to the Doobie Brothers or whatever. You just do without.
Right.
But cut a check to the Doobie Brothers, though. They deserve it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hey, Michael McDonald needs to, he needs to eat. Come on, let's cut him.
Yeah,
let's cut him some
thing.
thing.
Few pennies. Right?
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So here, I'm going to actually bring up an interesting point on this. So when we're listening to, music on the go and everything else like that, and I think this focuses more on when we're listening to streaming. What do you guys reach for first? Do you guys go for something that's like the tried and true? Or you guys like wanting to like, you know what? I want to discover something else. Because, it's really easy to fall into a trap of saying, hey, I heard this before. I kind of dug this. I want to hear this again. Or you're just like, you know what? I want to kind of see what the algorithm's throwing out my way and see what's there. Or, you read something on like Stereo Gum, Pitchfork, Consequence, and you're just like, I'd like to check that out. So like, what do you guys, reach for whenever you're hitting the music?
I would say for me, I do a lot of different things. So I don't know that I'm necessarily typical, but I actually do like Pandora a lot. I use Pandora. Like I created a station a while back. I put in probably like 100 of my favorite artists and said, hey, create a radio station. And like I use that a lot. And so that kind of does a mix for me of, it's like a radio station of things I like. So I actually do use Pandora a lot. I know I've told you guys before, I also stream radio stations. So like I'll stream Iowa Public Radio, I'll stream BBC Six, I'll stream radio stations as well. But I also do that where like a new album's out and I want to hear it, and then I'll go for that. So kind of depending on my vibe, the new releases, hey, what's new? And what's great about the streaming services, especially, and just the internet in general, is when new albums are out, you know about it, right? Like, it's not like in the olden days, like, oh, this person had an album out. And occasionally, you occasionally run into that where somebody has an album out and it's been out for 6 months and you're just hearing about it. But for the most part, all your notifications are going off like, hey, this is dropping, pre-order, like, which makes it nice.
Well, I think I need to get on Pandora just because. So here are my two things. When I'm on Apple, I'm doing the tried and true because in my opinion, like the Apple like stations, they fucking suck. I hate them. I hate, and here's the thing. I think I'll have to look this up just to just like refresh my memory and try to prove my point here. So like I'll do. For some odd reason, like every time I pull it up, it plays a simile by Skinny Puppy, which I don't mind, but I've listened to that song like 3,000 times in the past. Nothing. So, for example, like they have like made the whole, maybe Spotify does that as well, like the Made for You or things like that. So, I put on, and they called it like industrial, like essentials or things like that, which I don't mind, but they're never doing any deep dives on anything.
Yeah.
They're never playing any deep cuts. Even like I had it playing, and my singer was in the car as well, and that was the exact same thing he said. He goes, do they play any deep cuts?
Right.
I go, no.
Yeah.
They really, really don't.
Yeah, that's your
and granted, I'm not complaining about the list that they make up, but also it's always the same goddamn list. If I get out of the car, get back in the car, it starts off at 1. Like they don't mix it up or anything like that. I kind of fucking hate it. So go ahead.
Did either of you guys ever do like Last FM at all?
I did that in the early stages of Last FM, and I worked with it for a little bit. And for me, it was, I think you had to really work hard to adjust that algorithm. So let me tell you about my Spotify thing, and we'll get back to the Last FM. I never listen to anything that's curated by Spotify, plain and simple. I search out my own stuff and I find it. I listen to full albums. I'm one of those stupid people that will listen to an album.
I'm with you
from start to finish, all the way through. And there's one thing with Spotify that annoys me to death, and it's when you have a transition into the next song. There's the just second blip,
the pause.
The pause. The pause.
Apple does. That's been a problem with streaming forever, just because they have to chop up those files.
Yep. And can I tell you,
it does it on the refuse thing.
Here's where it kills me. If you listen to the Mars Volta Deloused in the Comatorium, between the first song and the second song, where it's that buildup, and then it goes into, I can't remember the name of the second song, but there's like pause, and then it goes into it. I'm like, oh,
dude, listen to Shape of Punk or Comet. It'll drive you nuts, because all of that stuff's supposed to flow into one fucking, it's supposed to be one giant song, and then and it's like a skipped record in my head, pause, I was like, there's no pause there.
Or like,
God damn it.
Or like the good old days when you had the Jay Giles band live. They would do Love Stinks, and they would shout out love, and you had to flip it over, and they would yell, it stinks.
Dude, the first time I listened to Lynyrd Skynyrd, and I think maybe I was like 13 or 14, it like cassette, that solo is so long, it fades out. You got to flip it over and then fades back into the solo.
There's always going to be a problem.
It's like, wait a minute, I need to catch up on this. But can I tell you that when you especially Shape of Punk to Come, you're getting into it and everything. And then just cause you're waiting for to kick in for new noise. And it's just like,
yeah.
Such a,
it really is. It really is.
Oh my God. But the intensity just drops off. But I apologize that we got on this tangent. So Alan, talk about Last FM. I'm sorry.
The reason I bring up Last FM is I was like you, I was into it for a while, and then other things came along, and there's like a viral article I saw. I don't remember if it was Vice or Noisy or one of those places posted Last FM had it all figured out, and now they're gone. And Last FM's still there, but it was always interesting because it was very much to me like the Discovery. You'd put in I want to listen to Sonic Youth Radio, and it would stick out here's a band that formed in Belgium, put out one album in 1986, and they broke up 3 months later. Here's their song that sounds a lot like Sonic Youth. And it if you want Discovery, those were some deep wormholes. I don't really go down that. Ooh. I don't use Last FM as much because of that kind of stuff. Pandora's kind of what I do. But I've got a friend, we always talk about he always says Pandora's are always recommending Cocteau Twins to him. It's always and to me, I feel like I get a lot of Florence and the Machine, which isn't really my thing, but I feel like I get a lot of whatever I'm listening to must be kicking off the algorithms. I don't know.
Oh, God. Florence and the Machine. Okay, all right. Hold on a minute. All right, before the Florence and the Machine fans start coming at me on this, I'm sure it's great. I'm sure it's wonderful and all this other stuff like that. It's not my thing. If I want, I think what's weird is that my female vocal taste tend to go more PJ Harvey, Sleater Kinney, things like that. Florence and the Machine does bores me.
But that's the algorithm problem. Like I feel like Spotify, as I've used it, has over the years has got better and worse. Like I feel like there was a time where it's like, you must try the Eagles. Like it just, I feel like they're just things that just come up. It's like, no, just because I'm listening to this, like, yes, I like certain 70s rock sounds, doesn't mean I like the Eagles.
If I'm listening to Death Grips, don't tell me I need to listen to LL Cool J. Okay, I'm listening to Death Grips. There's nothing, just because it's rap doesn't mean that it's going to be all rap.
Yeah.
So
the funny thing,
I don't need to.
The funny thing, when I got really big into Spotify for a while, and the one thing that always made me laugh was, and this is going to be weird, but you guys know I'm a big Americana fan. I like the old 97s, Wilco, all of that. Jason Isbell, I'm into that. And I also, as I've got older, I really appreciate reggae, which is, I'm the wrong person to be a big reggae fan, but I just love reggae. And they would always throw these reggae mixes, and for whatever reason, those two genres, it would be like, hey, you want to listen to reggae? Here's Jimmy Cliff. Here is Peter Tosh, and here's Lucinda Williams. And for some reason, like those two genres, like I'd always get these alt country songs showing up on my reggae mix. I don't know. There's obviously something there, but the algorithm would always pull that stuff over.
So
sorry.
I'm going to let John go on this one because I've got things to talk about on that.
So, I think I mentioned this last show. I'm constantly on YouTube. So I've discovered a lot of stuff because of like the YouTube algorithm, but also like a problem with like a YouTube algorithm when you're trying to discover stuff. It like, say if you listened, find like I'm going to use Dinosaur Pile-Up when we're talking about them later as an example, was like, oh, you enjoyed this one song. Mm-hmm. So YouTube will show me that same song.
Oh yeah.
Forever, and I like the same, like Orgasm. And, I've listened to this one song because I really, really love it, 300 times, mainly because YouTube just keeps throwing it at me. I was like, you can throw me another track from Orgasm. It's really okay.
Yeah, Spotify is really bad at that.
It is
they have added a new, like, actual random shuffler that's, I think, made things a little bit better. But yeah, that's a bad thing with Spotify too. It's like, here's the same song over and over again. We know you like it, so keep listening to it.
And YouTube will do this thing where they will make mixes for you that you can't like really turn off, where they'll do a thing like if you click on it and you're like, I'm trying to do something else right now, they'll put it like in the corner and like keep it there. And so I'll click on something that I think is just a song, and then it'll keep going. I was like, oh no, they made a mix. So every now and again, I'll look it up. I go, so is this like a discovery thing? Nope. This is all the same songs I've listened to in the past month. It sounds like I need to go to give myself a Pandora thing to,
I think
discovering some better music.
I know we've talked about this before, but I think also another thing that is helpful is sharing playlists. Like the one good thing about the streaming services is you can kind of recreate the mixtape of make a playlist, give it to a friend. And I feel like that works really well as well. Then that's kind of where you have the problem with like somebody like a Godspeed or King Gizzard that's not on Spotify, is like, you can't, if you're not on streaming, you're not going to be on these mixtapes. That's a way to kind of discover music or, take in music as well. If you're not on the streamings, are people going to hear you? I don't know. That's another aspect too. Yeah. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you that I've made a lot of mixes. So like for example, my wife, I've made a bunch of mixes for her. So I call it the miseducation of Jenny. And I put
fantastic. It's a
miseducation of Jenny. So I have there was the hardcore edition, the pop punk edition, the 80s edition, the 90s mix, blah, blah, blah. So there was a series of these that I made for her, and it goes over fairly well, because like she's somebody that wasn't really a big discoverer of music. So being around me, I just bombard her with a bunch of stuff. But I think the pressing question that is on everybody's mind right now is, how is a 50-something-year-old man living in Iowa really getting into reggae? Because I'm now curious. Because like I mean I love reggae. I'm a big dub and rocksteady and ska person, and I always say that, like, if your version of reggae is Bob Marley Legend, don't talk to me. So explain yourself.
Well, so I would say part of that is, I was a big Britpop guy in the 90s, right? That's you guys know that. And I was into the British music magazines. They would ship those into Barnes and Noble, and those were the days you get the CD on the front. And
those are great.
Mojo still does that with the CD on the front. You could hear like a sampler. As the 90s changed to the 2000s, you had more of like Uncut magazine and more of like a Mojo magazine. And you could always tell, like, they always put somebody popular on the front because they got to sell as many issues as possible. And so like Uncut would always do like the best of Trojan Records, the best of Studio One, the best of maybe Lee Scratch Perry, things he's done. And so that was the gateway. And also, for some reason, people in the UK seem to really love Americana. So again, that's a lot of stuff there. So all of that is just feeding into the stuff I like. And I don't know why I love reggae, but at some point I've just dug deeper and deeper and deeper into that. So
I will tell you, if we're talking about discovery, when we talked about public radio a lot, and I talked about KDHX, which actually, it came out that, when KDHX was sold, all those DJs didn't really have a place to go. Well, now they've created like a digital community radio thing that's now there. It's like Love of Community Radio, which fantastic. I'm glad they did it, because you need an outlet for that. But where I'm going with this is that I remember distinctly on, I think it might have been Saturday nights at midnight on KDHX, there was a show called, I can't remember what the name was, but the guy that hosted it was called The Mad Russian. And it was a Russian immigrant that played nothing but reggae. And you got to hear like the Congos, Peter Tosh. You got really, really deep cuts in some of that stuff. So like listening to that, because I really liked ska, and even now I still listen to like Desmond Decker, Bunny Wailer, all these other things like that have that just like that rock steady ska thing to it. And it kind of progressed on to like listening to like some dance hall. And I love Lee Scratch Perry. Oh my God. But yeah, it's, and this is where Al and I we all get along so well, because like when you said reggae, I'm like, okay, I gotta jab you on this one, because like, I love it too.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and I think that, maybe it's age. I don't know. I do know we had the local record store when we were in college. It had like the Rastafari behind the counter. And maybe I should have struck up more conversations with him. I didn't. It took me years, but I feel like, we were listening to a lot of the Clash, a lot of the two-tone bands, like the Specials. You listen to a lot of the Tim Armstrong bands, and then it just kind of just progresses, right? You're like, okay, where did they get this? And like Madness, you're like, oh, they got this from, Al Capone, or whatever the case may be. Like you start going down that rabbit hole of like, okay, this is where the Clash got it from. This is where.
So I'm going to go off on a tangent real quick on this one. So I'll just throw it out there. So Plaza Records used to go on the Strip, and the guy's name was Herman.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I'm a Herman. Yeah.
So whenever I wanted to sell CDs, and I'll make it known, there was a bunch of metal CDs that sucked that we got at the station. I'd sell it back so I can get stuff that I wanted. Anytime I sold to Herman, it was just like 50 cents, nothing like that. If you threw a reggae CD in the middle of that, $4 for each one of them, no problem whatsoever. And then I will tell you guys this offline about what he said about Annie DeFranco. And we'll leave that. No, we'll leave that at that. This is an offline conversation that doesn't need to be on here. So,
hey, allow me a tangent real quick.
Oh, please,
I wanna
please.
Talk about talk about music discovery. So, this is all. There is a specific like section of young people music. I just call it young people music on YouTube. Now, I don't want to call them like YouTube musicians, but they're the kind of like bands and rappers and things like that get really, really that can get really, really popular and like can like form their own community specifically through YouTube. But at least it feels like it, and maybe that bleeds over to TikTok and stuff like that. But I'm gonna name so. I really like maybe like when it comes to like this rap thing, there's this Latin female called Snow the Product. There's this black female called Thought Squad, THOT, Thought Squad. Is that Thought? And it's really funny. Thought Squad, like that's the name of her. That's not her name. That's like her, whatever the name of her music. When I tell Apple Music to play it, it bleeps Thought. Like now playing on Apple Music, beep Squad. And I was like, Thought is a, I guess maybe because it stands for that, but over there.
You mean that hoe over there? We can say that hoe. I mean, come on.
There's a female rapper out of New York. Her name's Sophie Burrell. And then how I find like other people is that they collab with each other it's all about collabs and things like that. And, like old school rap, showing up on other tracks and stuff like that. Yeah. But they'll shoot like music videos and stuff like that. And so these artists, with the exception of like Snow the Product, like Thought Squad, the Sophie Burrell, like they don't have like proper record deals anywhere. So they have a catalog of music, but it seems to be all like YouTube stuff. And then, there are also those type of things where, it happens all the time, but they're like, hey, I'm going to play a show over here. And it sells out. And you're like, no, they don't have a label. They don't have this. And it's all from YouTube. And that's just, and how I discovered that distinctly through like the YouTube it was kind of adjacent. Like I watch a lot of like video game content. And so the Thought Squad girl voiced one of the characters. And so her song was in this video game. It's called, I think it's called Dispatch or something like that. It's really, it just came out and it's really, really popular. So because of that, and because she voiced it, that song had blown up and things like that. And I'm just bringing it up because I found Snow the Product. It was randomly through YouTube. And, she puts out a lot of music, and I think she does her own label now. I think one of her earliest stuff, I think maybe Atlantic Cider or something like that. But like she's coming to town, and like I want to go, but I'm positive I'm going to be the only, 53-year-old white guy there. I'm positive. And the thing is, just being in Chicago, I've been in many of these situations before. Sometime down the road, I'll talk to you back in like 2000.
But I've seen
in the early 2000s, I was hanging out with hip hop girls that took me all over Chicago and Wisconsin. And early 2000s, Chicago was very dangerous. And I had like $5,000 worth of equipment. I know it's 2:00 in the morning. I'm at the south side of this house party. I'm literally the only white guy there. And people would like look and be like, hey, what? Oh, he's got a camera. Okay. that was like my gateway to everything. So sorry.
Well, there was a conversation around that not too long ago, and I feel like some of it was kind of like crapping on the new music. Like it's always cool to Geese are big, let me crap on them. And it was about like the streaming. Like if you have streaming numbers, how does that translate into like getting into venues? Like and some of that of like people getting overbooked. Like you got booked into too big a venue and you didn't sell tickets. You may have had 500,000 streams, but nobody wants to see. So it's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is. On that.
Those numbers are misleading.
Yeah,
because you really have to drill down those numbers. Like say you got 500,000 views, but maybe 400,000 came from overseas or something like that.
Yeah. And I'm sure,
or they only like you in Texas, or they only like you in California, that type of stuff.
I'm sure if anybody took a logical approach, they would figure that out of like, do you just have one song that's just going off on TikTok, or do you have like an album that people like? I'm sure if people put some thought into it, like I said, it was one of those discussions where I think there was an agenda as well to, this generation kind of thing. Like there's definitely an agenda to it, but at the same time, like it's hard to probably gauge your popularity more than it used to be.
So I'm going to wrap everything up here because I think there's a couple of things that, we've learned from this discussion. Number one, John Meadows is always invited to the cookout, 100%.
That is actually,
number two.
I've known John for a while, and that is true. Yes.
And honestly, I would like to say that I'm invited to the cookout, but I'm invited to the cookout for other reasons. And I would also like to say that John's love of hip hop comes from me because I forced him to go see MF Doom after a Pixies concert. Because I begged you to see if we could get.
I would like to bring that up that I got us in free to the MF Doom because I knew the guy who promoted it.
Yes.
Who I'm kind of friends with him, and he's kind of a legend around here. So,
and I'm eternally grateful for that because holy crap, was that not amazing or what?
You turned Margie into an MF Doom thing. She bought 2 MF Doom CDs after that show.
Yeah, it's amazing. So here's what we learned. So John's invited to the cookout. We all listen to, we all consume music. Well, first of all, it's nice to hear that we all consume a lot of music, like a lot of it. Because like, if you think about it, if you calculate it out, we're talking like 20 plus hours a week of music, from each of us. At least at a minimum. So that's huge. And I can't tell a lot of people that are out there right now that are listening to that much music in a week. And we tend to gravitate. I mean, we're forced digital, but we tend to want to go back to the physical, and some of us are, and some of us want to. So this is a really good discussion. I'm glad we brought this up. And I think this is, this is something for people to think about because, where we consume and where we listen to also, kind of affects how we enjoy the music. Stay with us. We've got some What Are You Listening To right after this. Okay, so we're going to end everything as we always do with the What Are You Listening To segment. So this is, when I started thinking about it, it's like, we're listening to some new music. We're finding other things. I've turned this into like a record review thing, which, it's the old radio station days where we get new music in and I, listen to it and get opinionated and judge it. But we all do this a little bit differently. So, I'm going to have John start off on this. So John, tell me what you've been listening to this week.
All right. So I got 3 people here. I'm going to start off with the Nova Twins. And they are a female, I'm just going to call them like a rock duo. They're out of London. And the reason I really, really like them, I really kind of hooked onto them, is that so it's bass guitar and drums, but their bass and the guitar, they run run those instruments through so many pedals, and they get great fuzz sounds. And it's just not normal sounding. And they are definitely one of those bands where they have recorded stuff, and the recorded stuff is produced and polished. But maybe this comes into the like Geese thing. Their live performances are a lot more like rough, and they do, and they put on great performances. I recommend. They were at Hellfest either last year or the year before, and like one of those bands that would kind of stand out at Hellfest because they're not death metal or black metal or things like that, but they put on a great performance. Their sound is they're kind of in the same area as like a Royal Blood. Do you know that? It's just a bassist and guitars, but that bass he plays like a guitar through like a fuzz box and it sounds really good. Nova Twins, and and they mix it up. It's like rock and rap. It's good stuff. I really like it. Dinosaur Pileup is, and they kind of showed up at the same time in same as Orgasm. Some odd reason YouTube was throwing London at me for some reason. And Dinosaur Pileup is they're like a 3-piece rock metalish type band, and they're fun to listen to. They write fun songs, and I really like them. And then the third one is Jesse Wells, just because the last 6 months have depressed me. And I needed some protest folk music, this guitar kills fascist type stuff. And Jesse Wells is that type of performer. And he puts out, I kid you not, if not every day or every other day, he's got like a new song. And it's usually it's very, very like topical, if you're killing people in Minnesota, he's probably got 3 songs about it already. So that type of stuff. So that's what I'm listening to this week.
Okay. So Alan, what do you've got going on this week?
Well, we talked about consuming music. We didn't really get to talking about concerts. We'll probably get that into some future episode, but I try to get to at least a handful of concerts every year. I'm going to start out by actually recommending a band that I don't necessarily like, but because that's the kind of service I provide. I saw a band called Flory, and they're not my thing. They're too hippy dippy, but they've got a lot of good press. I think a lot of people would dig them. They have some connection. Like the person who produced their last album was Colin Miller, who is in Wednesday. So they've definitely got like they're kind of in the Wednesday MJ Linderman circle. They remind me a lot of they're kind of in the same like Fust and This Is Lorelei. I see them like in a lot of those conversations. Went to see them live, and like I said, they're not my thing. It's one of those crowds that probably would have really in-depth discussions on like what their favorite dispensary is. That's not necessarily my thing. But what I did like about Flory is they've got their lead singer who's definitely got like star potential, named I think it's Francie Madosh. I might be pronouncing that wrong. And she's got a little bit of Courtney Barrett. She's a little bit of Lucinda Williams. And what I like about them, even though I said I don't like them, they won me over, right? Seeing them live, is we were around in the 90s. There were all these jam bands that noodled and said we're big Grateful Dead heads. And like, I just found all of those bands I found boring. The thing that Flory is different is they actually sound like the 70s bands. Like I hear Crazy Horse. I hear the Rolling Thunder Review. I hear, the actual heavy Grateful Dead from like the late 60s. I hear, Running on Empty by Jackson Browne. They did their when they did their encore, it was an NRBQ song. So they actually sound like the 70s. They actually rock out like Crazy Horse on stage. I can.
How do you spell that?
I can appreciate that. But the main reason I went was for the opening band. It's called Flory, Florry. And
all right, cool.
The main reason I went was for an album I really dig. I'm going to put it right in front of me for a second. A band called Dari Bay. This came out in 2022. I ran across it. I was just reading a blog, I think, and I ran across it. And it got a bigger... it got re-released in 2024, so it's out there, probably more in circulation now. Dari Bay, I thought it was this guy, and it's a band, but it's on record. It's mainly this guy that is Zach James, and he does a bunch of stuff. He's really prolific. He actually plays drums for the Unknown Mortal Orchestra, which kind of surprised me because that just seems really random. Because he's based out of Vermont. I think they're based out of Australia, but I might be wrong. I might be confusing them with somebody else. But it's a very alt country, for lack of a better description. On stage, he was I would say more of like 90s college rock, like Superchunk. Definitely had that kind of vibe. On the album, about half the songs have pedal steel guitar. So it's kind of like an Americana type vibe. If you like any of that stuff, if you like pedal steel, if you like, bands like Superchunk, check it out. It's good stuff.
Just one thing about Flory, I did like a quick look up, and maybe this is more of a Chicago thing, but given your description, they're playing March 16th at the Empty Bottle. And,
Yeah.
and I was just like, yeah, that Alan just described the perfect Empty Bottle.
And they feel like
band.
they're getting a lot of like they were on the year end, like a lot of year end Americana type best ofs.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're one of those, like I could see them. I could, there's nothing, you never know, but they could definitely be a band that could blow up. I could definitely see with a charismatic singer like that, and just kind of just a vibe of, kind of the 70s rock, but really played where it sounds like actual 70s rock.
So I got 3. 2 of them are full-length albums, and one of them is a single. So the first one is Joyce Manor. They're on Epitaph Records. They've been around for a while. They are heavy in the pop punk circles. The album's called I Used to Go to This Bar. It's their 7th album, like I said before. It's produced by Brett Gurewitz. The interesting thing about Joyce Manor, now I am deep into, pop punk. I've listened to Stiff Little Fingers, a little bit of Green Day and things like that. And, progressed on into Jawbreaker, Saves a Day and other bands like that. And, I have an appreciation for bands like Title Fight, Have Heart and those. Maybe it's just me being over 50, but it just didn't resonate. It got a lot of buzz, and there are some tracks that are on there. It's the last track that's on there, which is Gray Guitar, is a really good track. And there's some comparisons that you can see to like a Weezer or a Guided by Voices. But for me, it was like when I listened to it, people said, maybe you want to listen to like some of the earlier stuff that they did. And I can always go back and hear that. But to me, it just felt like it was a little bit disjointed, and just like, it's just like the concept of it really didn't hit for me. And I listened to, we did the IDB, let's listen to it 3 times and see what happened. I listened to it 5 or 6 times. And there are some songs that like burn in your brain that you can hear the melodies and all that. And there's a little bit of like a Morrissey vibe on some of them, but like, it just didn't resonate for me. It's not something I would like go seek out on a pop punk thing. But this is what this is all about. It's all about discovering new music, whether we like it or not. So, that's Joyce Manor. It's on Epitaph. The album's called I Used to Go to This Bar. The second one is an artist out of London called Aya. Her second album is called Hexed. It's on Hyperdub Records. I don't know what to say about this one. It is dark. The album focuses on a lot of dysfunction and addiction. Imagine Aphex Twin as its angriest and Death Grips as its sleaziest. There's tracks that are on there that are very drony, very dissonant. I like it because it's got good lyrical content, but like the sounds that are there, it's disturbing. It makes you uncomfortable, which kind of hits my wheelhouse extremely well. So it's something that if you're wanting an easy listen, this is not going to be what you're going to be wanting. But if you're wanting something that's a little bit difficult and a little bit jarring, this is going to tweak your ears. Not to throw Pitchfork out there, but they did give this album a 9 out of 10. So for whatever that's worth. But you hear these things that Pitchfork talks about and you're like, all right, I'm going to give it a listen and see what the hype's about. And this one, there is some hype to it. So there's that. And finally, I'm going to showcase my hip hop roots and talk about the new T.I. song. So T.I. released a new song called Let 'Em Know. It is produced by Pharrell. And if I ever wore a baseball cap, I would tilt it just a little bit to the side and do that. My God, it feels like 2006 all over again. It's a killer track. And for me, I'm a Pharrell head, 100%. I'll listen to Nerd. I'll listen to clips. A lot of that stuff that he's done is amazing. And it's like he really just has kind of brought back a renaissance of beat making. Plus T.I. just flows on it so easily. So that's what I've been listening to. And I think, we've got a lot of stuff to, I've listed down a lot of the stuff here. I actually went back and listened to Band Maid. We're gonna have some discussions we're gonna have discussions after this, because I need to sit you down on the couch and we need to talk seriously psychologically what's going on with you.
The next time we meet is actually gonna be an intervention and not a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be about 7 or 8 different circles, and we're going to have paperwork that we're going to have to read. So,
well, there's the thing that I really like about Pharrell is that Pharrell is the kind of guy that kind of hangs out with everybody. It seems like,
Yep.
and will make music with anybody. That's the. Have you seen that?
Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Tyler the Creator, is that what you?
Oh, I
have you seen the Tamale video for Tyler the Creator, where like at the end it does like a complete like beat change, a song change, and it starts off and it's maybe it's their the merch guy. He's kind of playing like the same note on guitar, and in the other corner it's Pharrell playing drums, and it's pretty cool.
I thought you were going to mention the Pharrell documentary where they did it all in Lego.
No, I haven't seen this.
No, it's on the streaming service that starts with an N. I don't know if we can. Honestly, we've talked about Spotify and Apple Music on this. We might as well just say Netflix and just go ahead with it.
Really, I have to see this. It
is fantastic. So basically, he did a documentary about his life, and it's all done in Lego. It is so
That's
cool.
fantastic. I want to see that. Yeah. That's great.
It's fantastic. And I'll suggest it to anybody out there that's listening to, if you've ever seen it. It's a lot of fun. So
interesting. I was gonna before we go, interesting to hear you talk about Joyce Manor, because I feel like I'm hearing a lot of buzz, people talking about them. I don't know. Turnstile is probably not the right comparison, but it feels like there's buzz. We'll see. We'll see if they blow up, good or not.
And I think because I feel like for me, Turnstile picks up a lot of vibes that I get, but I feel like if you listen to the Joyce Manor, because there is that singer-songwriter thing to it, I feel like you would really dig Joyce Manor on this one.
Yeah, I haven't. I need to check them out. But I just meant from just the way the buzz is kind of like Turnstile was for a while, where you just start hearing comments about like, oh yeah, this Turnstile band's doing something different. They're bringing rock back.
Yes, that for whatever that's worth. So, yeah. All right. So, the stuff that we've talked about in this podcast, there's going to be links in the description for what's there. So if you want to check these things out, by all means, please go check them out. And so for John, Alan, and myself, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay opinionated. See y'all.